28. Entonces, ser y estar. ¿Cómo se dice ser y estar en inglés? To be. No? Ser y estar. En inglés, to be. So it's one verb en inglés. En español, dos verbos. Ok, número 1. ¿Qué estamos haciendo hoy en la clase de español? Entonces pueden escribir estamos. Para número 1, aquí en sus papeles, ¿qué estamos haciendo hoy en la clase de español? Hoy estamos aprendiendo la diferencia entre ser y estar. So what's it saying? ¿Qué estamos haciendo? We know we're using the verb estar. Estamos haciendo. But what does that actually mean? ¿Qué estamos haciendo? What are we doing in Spanish class today? What are we doing? So you're in a Spanish-speaking country, and you walk in the door, and, maybe something inappropriate is going on. You would say, ¿Qué estás haciendo? ¿Qué estás haciendo con mi maleta? What are you doing with my suitcase? Or, ¿qué estás haciendo con mi pasaporte? Yo necesito mi pasaporte. Por ejemplo, estamos haciendo, ¿no? Hoy estamos aprendiendo la diferencia entre ser y estar. So we're using estamos. Otra vez, what does aprendiendo mean? What are we doing today? We're what? We are aprendiendo. La diferencia entre ser y estar, what does aprendiendo mean? We're what? Learning, hopefully. I hope so. Estamos aprendiendo. So on the test and on the super site, you have to fill in the blank with ser or estar. So how would you know to use estar in these two examples and not ser? What's our context clue? Because that's what we're focusing on today, the context clue. What's our context clue here? So if you have a highlighter, you might want to note this with your highlighter. We know we copied estamos on our papers for these two examples. We are. But that's what you're going to fill in the blank with on the test and on the super site. But how do you know? What's the context clue that determines the use of estar versus ser here? What do we look at? We know we use estar with what concept? We just did it with charades. What were you doing in charades? Responding with estás durmiendo. No? So we have these progressive participles. Aprendiendo, haciendo. So on the super site and ultimately on the test, if you see a progressive participle that ends in ando or yendo right after the blank, you know it's which verb? Ser or estar? Estar. Estar. So that's what we're applying today. We've learned the progressive. We've learned estar with emotions. Now we're going to use it versus this verb. Ok, otro ejemplo. Y número 2 está aquí. Ser. ¿De dónde eres tú? Yo soy de Kentucky. Morgan es de Cincinnati. Por ejemplo. Eres and soy. So if we were filling in the blank with the correct form of ser or estar, like you'll have to do in the superset in the test, how do you know it's ser and not estar? What is helpful here? Well, hopefully when you say de donde, blank too, you're just used to filling in that blank with de donde eres too. Hopefully that just sounds right. But does anybody know why it's eres and not estás? Because I'm sure some of you are like, put estás because donde estás makes sense. Donde estás? From, not where are you. Yes, the word from. Muy bien, Brian. De donde. Because I am not in Kentucky right now. It's not talking about my location. It's talking about my origin. De donde. Yo soy de. De. When you see de, it's ser. Okay? So this would be an example, and I don't know, Jake, if you've created it yet since you're our Quizlet king, but you can just go on to Quizlet. You don't need Jake's Quizlet cards. I mean, if you make them, Jake, thank you, but they're not necessary because 1,000 students who are studying Spanish have to learn ser versus estar. So you could go into Quizlet and just type in your search practice with SER versus a star in Spanish. That could be your search term, like on Google. Practice with SER versus a star in Spanish. That's your search term, and you'll get tons of practice. And that's what it takes. Practice, 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 because you need to look at context clues to determine which one to use. ¿Dónde estás too? We just talked about this. This is what we were comparing with. Number 2 versus number 3. ¿Dónde estás too? It's hard to write like this, sorry. Yo estoy en la clase de español. So what did Brian point out that determines SER versus a star when we're using ¿dónde? Day. When we see day, we know, and if I had a different color highlighter, I would use it. I might use green or orange to not confuse SER versus a star. So if you have more than one highlighter, switch your color for SER. Estar, ¿dónde estás? Is asking what? Salud. ¿Dónde estás? ¿Dónde está mi teléfono? ¿Dónde está, dónde están mis llaves? ¿Dónde está mi mochila? What does ¿dónde está mean? Where are you? Exactly. ¿Dónde estás? Where are you? ¿Dónde estás? I didn't know hardly any Spanish when I studied abroad in Spain, practically nothing. And I lived with a host family with a little girl, and that's like the only thing I could play with her is like hide and seek. I'd be like, ¿Dónde estás? Because that's all I knew how to say. But it worked. She understood what I was saying. ¿Dónde estás? Where are you? Yo estoy en la clase de español. En is our context clue. And just ¿dónde by itself with estás. En. Because en español means what in English? En. It's the same thing. It sounds the exact same. It's spelled different. But that's our context clue. De with ser en estar. ¿Dónde está el libro de español? Número 4. ¿Dónde está? So we just talked about ¿dónde with está. It's not de dónde. So careful with that on the supersite. De dónde would be ser. ¿Dónde es está? El libro de español está encima de la mesa. Careful. Because those location words have de with them. Cerca de, lejos de, delante de, detrás de. A la derecha de, a la izquierda de. They all have de, but notice right after the blank we have those location words. This is vocabulary. So, Quizlet search term. Practice with location words in Spanish. If you don't necessarily have to memorize like what debajo de and encima de and delante de and detrás de mean in English at this point. You need to be able to see that word like cerca de and be like, I can't remember exactly what it means, but I know it's one of those location words. And I use location words with ser or estar. Estar. Because they're location words, and how you feel and where you are, always use the verb estar. ¿Ok? Por ejemplo, número 5. ¿Quiénes son estas personas? ¿Quiénes son estas personas? Es la familia real de España. So, son and es. ¿Cómo se dice? What's it saying? ¿Quiénes son estas personas? ¿Quién es la estudiante nueva? La estudiante nueva es Bella. Who? Exactly. ¿Quién es tu profesor de matemáticas? ¿Es fácil? ¿Es interesante? ¿Es inteligente? Es. So this does not apply to how you feel or where you are. Always use a verb estar. It doesn't have the progressive ando or yendo. So the strategy you want to implement is first, really, in the book, I don't love the book, and I don't love everything on the internet in terms of teaching students SER versus a star, or practicing SER versus a star, because there's all these acronyms and mnemonic devices to memorize the uses of SER, memorize the uses of a star. But when you have to choose, when it's a 50-50 chance like this, just know one really well. Because if you know a star very, very well, if it's not a star, it's obviously SER. So how you feel and where you are, always use a verb estar. Careful with donde versus de donde and those location words, where you are. You have to know those location words. But if it doesn't fall under that and it doesn't have ando or yendo after the blank, then it's got to be ser. Okay? So, ¿quiénes son? Es la familia de España. ¿Cómo están ellos? ¿Cómo están ellos? ¿Están contentos? Careful, because that's número 6. ¿Cómo están ellos? Ellos están contentos. Careful, very careful actually, I can't emphasize enough. What is ¿cómo están asking? Like, ¿cómo están? Every day I ask you all, I'm like, buenos días, ¿cómo están? And you're like, cansados. How are they? Like, how are they feeling? Okay? Is it grammatically correct? Does it make sense to say, ¿cómo son ellos?
It's asking, like, what we're like.
Exactamente. Muy bien, Brian. That's a tricky one. Automatically, students want to use está. ¿Cómo estás too? Because we're so used to that. And that repetition has embedded the use of estar with como in our heads. But we can use ser with como. And that's asking what they're like. So, especially on the super site, where you have dialogues, those are pretty hard to fill in the blank. When you have questions, make sure you read the answer. Because in the answer, if they provide an adjective that describes how you're feeling, you know it's what? Ser or star. If we have a feeling, is it ser or star? It's star. But if it has a description of a characteristic or a personality trait, then it's ser. If it says like altos or guapos or I don't know, inteligentes. If you see that, then you know it's como son. Pregunta, Jake.
So like, como soy simpáticos.
Exactamente. Soy simpática, soy profesora, soy estudiante, or soy inteligente. It's a little tricky though when you have adjectives that are used as feelings, but can also be a personality trait. Like, some dogs are not friendly. That's not how they're feeling. You just don't pet them, okay? Because they will bite you. So there is a little bit of overlap. You know, sometimes we're feeling bored, but sometimes somebody's just a really boring person to hang out with, okay? So we can use ser and estar interchangeably if that's a personality trait. If you're like, that girl is always so happy, you know, you would use ser because that's describing the type of person she is, okay? Or if you're a nervous person or something like that. The only exception to this is the word for crazy in Spanish. ¿Cómo se dice crazy en español? Loco. We always use, I'm just going to say always, even though there's nothing always in Spanish, but as far as you need to know, we always use loco with a star. Like, they're crazy, or that girl's crazy. Está loca. Not to, like, you know, stereotype girls as crazy, but we're usually crazier than boys. Or there's actually a song in Spanish that I don't know, it's a little bit older, but it's a good song, and it's talking about how crazy people are in Spain in terms of nightlife, because they are. They're crazier, and they say, esta gente está loca, and then it's a little inappropriate, but está loca, because when we use loco with ser, we're really getting more into mental illness and things like that, and you just don't hear it as much. And I don't even know if they really use ser ever with loco. So you can always be like, ¿estás loco? When you're talking to somebody, are you crazy? Like, necesitas ir a hacer, something like that. Okay, so here's an example, número 7, with como and son. Como son, ellos son. So why are we using ser here and not estar? Why don't we have como están? What determines the use of ser here? Son ricos, famosos, atractivos, guapos. Son la familia real de España. Why are we using son instead of como están? We're using como son because why? Are we talking about how they're feeling? Is famoso a feeling? No, it's who they are. So remember, how you feel and where you are, always use a verb estar. Where there's no feelings going on here. So we're not going to use estar. We're going to use ser, and we're asking for a description. ¿Quiénes son? Oh, son la familia real. ¿Cómo son? Ricos. No, rico is mucho dinero. Rico, do you know what rico is with a star? Because you can use rico. Rico means rich, like mucho dinero, no? But rico with this star doesn't have anything to do with money. It's delicioso. So if you're at a restaurant or a friend's house and the person serving you only speaks Spanish, you'd be like, está muy rico, me gusta. And that's like saying it's delicious. So rico, like, que rico. It's like yummy in Espanol. So words change meaning with ser versus estar. But you don't have to know that for 102, just in general. Okay, número 8. ¿Qué estación es? ¿Cómo se dice estación? And I can't get my brightness any better on this iPad.
Is that a fall season?
It's like, yeah, season. So, ¿qué estación es? I'm asking what season is it? So if this was the superset of the test, you would look at estación and you'd be like, that's the word for season. That's not a feeling. That's not a location. That's not ando yendo. It's got to be ser. And I'll use es otoño. Es otoño. Okay?
Could you say que año?
¿Qué año es? Yeah, you wouldn't use está with año because año is not a feeling or location. Sí, muy bien. ¿Qué tiempo hace hoy? Hoy está despejado. Está despejado. ¿Está despejado hoy? ¿Sí or no? Está despejado es hace sol. ¿Está despejado, sí or no? Sí, está muy despejado. Muchos veces en Charleston está despejado. So, this isn't a feeling, and this isn't a location. This is weather. But you can kind of interpret like weather really affects our feelings, or it affects my feelings. I'm usually pretty happy when it's nice out, and not so happy when it's not nice out. And when it rains in Charleston, are we really happy? No, it's such a pain, el dolor de culo. So because weather affects our emotions, remember weather descriptions, nublado, despejado, etc. We're going to use estar, okay? ¿Qué hora es? Son las, ¿qué hora es? ¿Qué hora es? En este reloj, ¿qué hora es? Aquí. Son las 8 y 22. Muy bien. Son las 8:22. ¿No? So how would you know if this was a superset of the test and you had to fill in the blank with the correct form of the verb ser or estar? What would you look at? Well, hopefully you see que hora and it just sounds better, right? Que hora es. It's okay to go with that. It is totally fine. It just sounded right, Profeseta. It just sounded like es, not esta. Esta sounded weird. That means that that's acquisition. That means you're acquiring Spanish. When it sounds right and it sounds weird if you used esta, that means somehow, some way, you're absorbing language in your brain. Really, that's acquisition versus learning. Learning's like using Quizlet to memorize and practice and things like that. But acquisition of language is it sounds right, especially if it is right when it sounds right. Que hora es? But if you had to explain or you were helping a classmate understand this and they didn't understand the whole sounding right thing, I don't know, how would you explain to somebody that it has to be es and not está? What's our context clue? What are we looking at with que hora es? Time, hora. Time has nothing to do with feeling or location, and it's not ando or yendo. Son las, we're going to use ser because we have time, okay? But just to clarify how you feel and where you are, always use the verb estar. Okay, so that's what you're writing down here. How you what? How you feel. And that's like everything on page 124. How you feel, and what comes next in the rhyme? How you feel and where. I cannot remember off the top of my head where those location words are. Ando and yendo. So those progressive actions, they don't rhyme. Literally, for years when I teach this, I'm like, if you could think of a new rhyme that includes ando and yendo, along with how you feel and where you are, always use the verb estar, or something to help you remember that, maybe including weather, that would be awesome. But that's basically what you need to know. Know ESTAR really well, and if it doesn't apply to ESTAR, then it has to be SER. Oh, I had it right there. Oh well. And then ando and yendo, and weather too. Weather as well. Despejado, nublado. Okay, but just to clarify, SER has lots of different uses. You don't even have to write them down because I really don't want you to memorize the uses of SER. But on the super site, it might be helpful to know origin, soy de Kentucky, relationships, professions, son estudiantes, or es mi hermano, no? Characteristics, like es inteligente, or es una persona muy aburrida. And then time, que hora es, son las 8, que estaciones, que año es, cuándo es el examen, etc. Okay, chicos, es or está. Marta, cansada. ¿Cómo se dice cansada? Tired. So how you feel and where you are, always use the verb estar. Está. Okay? Guapa? ¿Cómo se dice guapa? Es. Muy bien. ¿Por qué? ¿Cómo se dice guapa? Attractive, good looking. Is that a feeling? No, but can you use it with a SAR? Yes. But you would use it like if, you guys wear like school clothing every day. You don't really dress up for class. But let's say it's like Saturday night, you're out with your friends and I run into you. I'd be like, oh, Morgan, estás muy guapa. I could use a star with guapa just to add emphasis that that's not how I normally see you. You're normally just, school clothes. So it's not necessarily totally incorrect, but in general, Marta es guapa. Beyonce es guapa. No? It's a trait. And then if we have hoy, ¿cómo se dice hoy? This is actually what I was saying. It was today. So, está. Está guapa hoy. Because normally she doesn't get dressed up, but today she did, so she looks good. Marta en La Paz, Bolivia. Es or está. Es or está, chicos. How you feel and where you are. So how do we know this is where she is? What's it saying? Marta está en La Paz, Bolivia. So these little teeny words. En makes it está because we're saying Marta is where? In. She's in Bolivia. But let's say she was Bolivian. How would we say that she's from Bolivia? We'd have to replace in with de. Muy bien, Tyrese. And then now, if we change in to de, it changes our answer from está la es. She is from Bolivia. Es or está. Es or está. Marta es de Lima, Perú. No es de Bolivia, es de Perú. Es de. Está en. Little tiny prepositions, big difference. Okay?
Where is Lima?
Lima es la capital de Perú. Es or está. Es or está. So what are you looking at? What's your context clue here? Not Marta. Medica. ¿Qué es medica? Doctora. Yeah, doctora doesn't exist, so they use medica, a doctor. So how you feel, where you are, always use the verb estar? No. Marta es médica. Yo soy profesora. Ustedes son estudiantes. What are we looking at the sentence? What's our context clue? We want to look right after the blank. Hermana. Is that a feeling? Is that a location? Is that ando or yendo? No, so it's S. It's kind of what you're going through. And what's it saying? Marta es hermana de Patricio.
She's the brother.
She's the sister of Patrick. See.
So it's feeling, location, what else?
Ando yendo, like esquiando, corriendo. You use that with a star. I just don't know how to make it rhyme.
There we go.
What am I looking at in the blank? What's my context clue here?
Stop.
Well,
Where she is.
al lado, and it is a stop because al lado de is a location word. Do you need to know what al lado de means? That's great, but no. Do you need to be able to recognize that it's a location word? Yes, on page 124. ¿Cómo se dice al lado de? Colin está al lado de Ethan. Next to. Muy bien, chicos. Está. ¿Por qué? So this is what I was talking about, Colin. Leyendo. Doesn't rhyme with how you feel and where you are. But it ando and yendo. What is? Marta está leyendo un libro. She's what?
Reading the book.
Reading a book. Okay, chicos.